All types of music for all types of people.
The sound of Great West London.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Hello. Welcome to 91.8 Hayes FM. This is the Shee radio show hosted by myself, Nicola Chan. This show is live on air, live on Facebook, and each week I upload the show to a podcast so that you can listen again and not miss any of the juicy action. If you can't stay today between 1 and 3, please catch us on iTunes and SoundCloud at Shee Radio, WAISHEE. So my guest today, I'm very excited, is here. She is top UK dance fitness presenter, group exercise expert and body positive activist. She specialises in helping women feel good about their figures, regardless of shape or size, through fun and feisty dance concepts. This is Zoe McNulty. She's also the headmistress of the School of Strut. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Nicola. I'll take a breath.
I thought you deserved a nice intro.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Oh, good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm just thinking I can't hear myself through here, so I might have to do some adjusting, but...
Adjust away.
Away with Zoe. Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us how you got here?
You pretty much said it all.
There we go.
Oh,
Not better?
Suddenly I sound really sexy. I like that. So my patter at the start of a session, at the start of a class, is good afternoon or good morning, whatever. My name is Zoe and I'm the headmistress of the School of Strut, and I firmly believe that every woman has the right to feel good about themselves regardless of shape or size. And then I usually say, can I get a yes, miss?
Yes, miss.
Thank you. And I do sassy dance classes that help women, not exclusively, feel good about themselves, feel good in their skin. And I've been doing it for about 13, 14 years now.
So why do you do that?
Okay, so excuse me, some of that thing I was eating in the car has just gone down my throat. A while ago, not a while ago, about 14 years ago, a gym chain that I was working for said to me, can you do a class in heels, because we've seen something in the States and it looks kind of cool. And I looked at what they were doing in the States, but they were doing like lunges with high heels on and barbells.
Oh wow.
And they would finish off the class with a can, which just made no sense to me at all. And I thought, okay, well, I'm a dancer. If we're talking at that time, functional training was a big thing. So I thought, functional training, women want to go out, they want to go out dancing. And so after the first class, it was actually halfway through the first class that I put on at that gym, I noticed the difference in the women's posture, in their demeanour, in their energy. And I thought, there's definitely something in this. And it was literally at that moment that I thought, do you know what? We're busting our butts, trying to change the way that we look in order to then feel good enough, in order to then go out and live life. Actually, it can be done in like 45 minutes in one class. I saw the way that they came in all timid, holding the high heels in their hand, going, "Oh, we're in the right place." And then by the end of it, they were like, Sasha Fierce had just been unleashed. So I thought, right, I need to go with this. This is important. And that was before I knew about body positivity. Do you remember you came to me and you said, have you seen this thing, the body image movement? I was like, I literally invented it. I thought it was all my idea. And then my eyes sort of were opened to this whole world of women who were sick of diet culture and were beginning to live their life in a different way that didn't involve counting calories. It didn't involve having to, work hard and feel the burn in a fitness class in order to then feel worthy, and then in order to think that you're allowed to eat what you want. my eyes were opened.
So this isn't always how you felt, as you said, your eyes open. So when your eyes were closed and you've been in the fitness industry a long time, can you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got into the fitness industry and then how it led to opening your eyes into body positivity?
Oh, yeah. I think actually probably quite like a few other fitness instructors, I actually went into it. I decided to train up. Hey. Oh. I thought, I'm that boring, being cut off already. So, years and years ago, probably about 20 years ago, I was a student and I'd been going to the gym. I was also dancing in nightclubs and, you know, wanted to be slim for the podium and also to get the boys. And I actually couldn't afford my gym fees, so I offered my services as anything. I'll clean the toilets, whatever. I've got to go to the gym, otherwise, you know, I don't know what will happen. And they not only gave me a job in the gym, they also trained me up. They sent me on the exercise to music course, and that's where I thought, aha, this is interesting. This is possibly where I should be. My background in dance and performance combined with knowledge of fitness that I was starting to gain. And I just really loved having people at the front of a class, or people looking at me, standing at the front of the class, telling them what to do. I enjoyed that. So that's how I kind of got first in, you know, and really, if I'm honest, I went into the fitness industry in order to manage my weight. And I'd always sort of fluctuated my weight. It's always gone up and down. And, you know, as a child in the dance world, I was bigger than the other kids. So that was always in my mind. I'm big. I need to be smaller. I must do something about it. My body's a problem, etc. So yeah, that's where I was at the start of my career. And
so you had that from presumably the dance industry.
Yeah. You know, we compare as little girls. We look at the other girls and we think, oh, I don't look like that. Oh, I'm not being chosen for that because why is that? Probably because of the way that I'm slightly different from the others. And then, you know, you look back at photos and there wasn't really very much difference, but it just sticks, doesn't it? These things stick at such an important
and I guess
time.
Also subconsciously, without even realising, we're listening to messages on the telly, on the radio, in magazines, and our parents and our friends at school. So we're just taking on those cultural messages of what somebody should look like. Yeah. And it changes with the times, doesn't it? Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I learned how to count calories at an early age. It was so, I mean, it still is, but just the very fabric of our society, you know, just to learn about counting calories, to all these stupid things about low-fat diets, low-carb diets, you know, just it all seems so one that I'm waiting for
now.
next is the body positive diet. That will probably be out soon.
Oh,
and I'm definitely going to talk to you about that later as well. So that was your background and how you, from dance, and how that made you feel about your body, and then you got into the fitness industry. Did you feel like in the fitness industry there was this pressure as well to look a certain way?
So yes, but not so much. So I actually avoided the commercial dance scene. Like growing up, my dream job was to be a dancer on Top of the Pops. And then some of my close friends actually went on to be dancers on Top of the Pops. And I never put myself forwards for that. I didn't want to be told, you're too big, you need to lose weight. You know, I'd had a lot of that growing up. And so many of my dancer friends were not very well. They had anorexia. And I just didn't want to be put in that position, because I knew I'd tried so many times to lose weight and failed so many times. So I knew it would just be a repeat of that. So falling into the fitness industry, it gave me a little bit of leeway. It was not quite so, it was a lot more forgiving than the dance world. So, and I think that is still the case. Although with the introduction of Instagram, like, that's changed the dynamic again, back to everything being fitness being all about aesthetics rather than actual internal fitness.
When you market fitness, if you look at a fitness magazine, there's one look on the front cover.
Yeah.
I mean, even that used to be different back in the day, like in the 80s, 90s, and now it is seen like muscular and lean, but it always is lean.
Lean, yeah. That's it. Strong is the new skinny, etc.
And the title of the magazine will be something health, so that we
Associate
that picture
exactly
with health, and then we think, because there's also a lot of health shaming, isn't there, that if you're not healthy, that you're a bad person, you're not eating right, you're not exercising, all of these things.
That's it, the old good fatty, bad fatty dichotomy. Yeah. So
then you're awakening.
Right. Well, yeah, well, it was kind of gradual, and it really did start off with that first heels class, which I'm still teaching, and now we call it strutology. But at the time, I was still living in the fitness world, and I still hadn't quite fully got my head around the fact that you can actually live externally of diet culture, and you can say no to being on a diet. Like that's mind blowing. The first thing that I read that made me think, oh, crikey, there's a whole new world out there, was Body of Truth by Harriet Brown. And she'd sort of touched on health at every size in that, and then I looked deeper into health at every size, read that book, and it just literally, like, the scales fell from my eyes, and I realised how much we'd been lied to, and the propaganda that was out there, and I didn't realise. So that made me angry then.
I went through an anger stage as well.
Yeah, and now I'm just like, ugh.
So I want to talk to you more about that, about the journey and this anger stage, and then how you came out the other side as who you are now. But we have a break, so stay with us. Get your questions in on Facebook, on the Facebook Live at Hayes FM, and we'll be back shortly.
All types of music for all types of people.
The sound of Great West London.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Hello, welcome back to 91.8 Hayes FM, the Way She radio show. Today in the hot seat is Zoe McNulty, the head mistress of the School of Strut. So if you've just joined us, welcome. We're talking all things body positivity. And we just got to the part in Zoe's story where she became awake and she realised that she was actually, I remember I had this conversation with you actually, and you were like, I actually already do that. Like, I teach women confidence and I teach them how to feel good about their bodies, but you weren't necessarily in the right mindset and understood, like, educated yourself on all the research out there about health at every size, and, you know, with having comebacks to people and what they think about you if you feel good in your body. It's not the norm, especially not in the fitness industry. So let's talk about the body image movement, because we both stumbled across that.
Yeah.
And then became ambassadors, and there's a whole group of us in the UK and globally as well, promoting this body positive message. How did you find that? And
well, like I said before, I found that through you. You said, do you know about this? And I honestly thought, no, this body image thing, I'm pretty sure I started it. And then it turned out that this lovely lady, Taryn Brumfitt, had posted on her social media a before and after photo, which was the opposite way to what you'd normally expect. She had done a bodybuilding competition, and then actually she realised that with her young daughter, looking at her having lost all this weight and being concerned about her body shape, she actually didn't want to give that message anymore. So she stopped that sort of thing. She stopped the dieting. She decided to love her body, and the before and after shot went absolutely viral. And so from that momentum, she was all over the news, and she decided to do something with it. So she set up the body image movement, and
she created the documentary.
And the documentary, yeah, that's it.
So we became ambassadors so that we could promote this documentary.
Yeah.
And I held a hosting at Uxbridge, our local Odeon cinema.
Yeah, and I was at Streatham.
and had a little speech to everybody to tell them that it was part of my journey. This is who I am, and I want you to watch this video because hopefully some of you will feel a bit more happy about your bodies as well. Because it's also a really good documentary to show you that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And there's people all around the world, all different cultures, not liking their bodies. And it shows you how the media has changed the way that we feel about ourselves over time. As we were saying, there is an ideal body for a certain decade, and then it could change the next decade. And you are your genetic makeup. You have your own set point. Everybody's different, and we can't all fit this ideal that actually society is placing on us.
Exactly. Yeah, it was an eye-opener as well. I remember that night was, there were quite a lot of tears. People were blubbing in how they were relating as well. There was the story of the lady with anorexia. People got really emotional about that.
But even it wasn't even just about size, was it? There was the lady with the beard.
Yeah.
Like disabilities. Like there's loads of different things. And it's just like that is what body acceptance is. But I think for the majority of people, especially in our industry, it starts with your size or your shape.
Yeah, exactly.
And going from training because you hate your body to try to change it to training because you love your body.
Yes.
And it is a journey. Like you said, Taryn decided. So it starts with that decision, but then the journey starts.
Yeah.
You don't feel like that every day. And actually what's interesting is we went to an event recently. What was it called? The one where I saw you last and Tess Baker was there. Jess Baker. Tess Baker?
Oh, yeah.
Tess?
What was it called?
Or Jess?
Jess. It's Jess Baker.
Jess.
The militant baker. And it was called The World is Burning, So Let's Do a Show. And it was hosted by Sophie Hagen. And it featured Body Posy Panda and The Vajaggle and a whole load of other amazing performances.
But I just remember Jess when she was on stage talking about like that she didn't love her body, like a moment in her time after body positivity. She's promoting this message, she's got books, she's got all these things, and then she was still at home looking in the mirror, I hate myself. And it was really nice to see that, because I think sometimes people see people on the journey and think, well, you love yourself now, so you're fixed, you've made it, and help me along the way. But it's never plain sailing, and the noise, and I always go like this, the noise of the media and our environment is always going to go on. So sometimes once you have made it as such, you still have to.
I do think the way that you think and the way that you're programmed, and you have to reprogram your mind, but that in itself is it's like yoga, and it's a practice, and if you don't do yoga for a little while, your body stiffens up again and you get weak. So it's something that you need to keep doing, and it's all about how you think and then what you do with the thoughts. You might wake up in the morning and get a thought, oh, I don't like my belly, oh no, my bum looks big today. Usually it's not your bum looks bigger today than it is yesterday, it's something else. But then what do you do with that thought afterwards? Are you going to pander to it, and are you going to feed that nasty rabid dog, or are you going to say, no, I'm not feeding you today, I'm going to decide today to love my body? And even if that at the time feels like it's a lie, I really am a true believer in fake it until you make it, because
me too.
the more the more that you do something, the more it becomes your reality.
And at the same time, you have fluctuations, don't you? Your body will change as well. So you might accept your body, and then it changes, and then you've got to do the whole thing again.
Yeah, you do.
And then it can keep changing. And obviously, that's life. We have babies, we age, you get illnesses, you get injuries. Yeah. And at the same time, I mean, especially talking about women, we have our hormones. And so on a month-to-month basis, you could have that day. And I always have a body image day every month.
Right.
And I'm very aware of it now. So I know that these are my red flags. If I start thinking about the calories I'm eating, or if I start thinking I want to weigh myself, like they're still going to come up, because the old neuro pathways are still there.
Yeah.
I've just created new ones, and I'm just going over and over and over those to try and solidify them. Yeah. And it's making sure that I don't fall back into an old pattern.
Yeah, I had to
or
do
forgive
that
myself
recently.
if I do.
I had to go, whoa, recently. My brother's getting married in June, and I'm having to do a reading at the wedding, and a big family event where my automatic from back in the day, my thoughts are, oh, right, got to lose some weight now. And, that popped up in my head, and I thought, no, I just have to find something that I can wear that I will feel really confident in.
Because at the same time with weddings, it's society-based, isn't it, that you will want to lose weight, especially if it's your own wedding.
Yeah.
I remember when I tried on my wedding dress in the shop and they said, well, we'll take it in a couple of weeks before because you'll obviously lose weight.
You know.
And at the time I was already dieting, I was a size 8 anyway. I couldn't get much smaller.
That's messed
It
up.
was just assumed that you change your body to fit the dress, not they'll change the dress to fit your body.
That's insane, isn't it? Listen to that. That's crazy.
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 So, if you have any thoughts on that, get them in. It's time for the local news. We're still here till 3 o'clock, so let's talk body positivity and we'll be right back.
Yay.
All types of music for all types of people.
The sound of Great West London.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Hello, welcome back to 91.8 Hayes FM, the Shee radio show. I'm Nicola Chan, and in the hot seat is Zoe McNulty. Yay! We can wave our hands around for the Facebook Live going on, so please check us out on Hayes FM, Facebook Live. You can put your comments in there as well, and we'll answer them throughout the show. So let's talk about diets. Obviously, it's February at the moment, and January is a very big diet culture month.
And also, it's Valentine's night on Friday, isn't it?
Yep,
so
it's
people will
Valentine's.
be panicking about getting into their underwear.
Oh, yeah. Buy some that fits.
Not me. Buy some that fits. Simple.
So let's talk about diets, Zoe,
Yes, let's.
and how diets don't work. Obviously, we're only giving our opinions. There is lots of information out there, so please do educate yourself and then choose something that is right for you.
Well, I think it's not necessarily just our opinion that diets don't work. It's been proven time and time again that there's only 3% of people who do attempt weight loss that actually keep it off long term. And there are no studies done that go beyond 5 years. So on the whole, we can pretty much say that everyone who tries to lose weight gains it again. Mm-hmm. And many of them put it back on even more, so on top.
Yeah. And you mentioned health at every size earlier. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that means and the research that was in that book?
Oh, you might have to help me out with some of that research because I know you're good at facts and figures. Yeah, so health at every size.
watching.
Oh, look at that. Look at all your post-its.
I know, I've done a lot of
showing off.
research. This is like a year of work.
I love that. Yeah, so health at every size. And people do like to misinterpret it as saying that every size is healthy. And what it really means is that you can work towards getting healthier at any size, and it can be completely independent from weight loss. So just introducing healthful activities like gentle exercise, making better choices, food choices on a whole, not worrying too much, although that's getting into a lot of intuitive eating. But yeah, so health at every size is a weight neutral way of living life. Really.
But also it does show you in the research that it's actually healthier for you. Like the healthful behaviours that you do are the things that make you a healthy person.
Yes.
However your body ends up at the end of it. So
Yeah,
and
it also
actually
talks
dieting,
about,
like the yo-yo
changing.
dieting actually makes you the least healthy.
Yes, because of the stress that it puts on your body, that it puts on your heart. So yeah, just the best thing that you could possibly do for your body right now is to just stop dieting. There'll be a period of time though where you might put on some weight, and in fact, actually, at the end of the day, you might be living beneath your set point right now, which is going to make you unhealthy, or you could certainly be healthier if you were at your...
Should we talk about what
Yeah.
set point is for people who are listening and
Tell
don't really
'em.
understand?
Tell
So your
'em.
set point is like your thermostat. So say, for example, we're in this room right now, it's quite warm. If it was to get hotter, it would naturally change to be a little bit lower. There is a set point thermostat within our bodies, and that is our weight ranges. And that is genetic. It's not, you can't change it. although it can go up.
It does change.
Yeah,
it
you
does
can't,
change.
you
The
can't
more
make
that
it go
you-
down.
The more that you yo-yo diet, the more you swing up and swing down and swing up and swing down. That's what's going to push your set point weight
But it
up.
makes sense because our bodies like have evolved to help us to survive. So actually, if our set point moves up, it's only because we've given it that fight beforehand. We've starved ourselves, and it's like, well, do you know what? If you're going to do that again, I better store some extra fat just in case you're starving, and then we've got something to burn for energy. So every time you do the diet, yo-yo up and down, your set point goes, okay, I'm going to store a bit higher, I'm going to store a bit higher, I'm going to store a bit higher. And I have heard people say, even though they listen to me say this, that, well, I just want to be slim in the now. You know, not think about the future.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, when you look back at pictures and think, well, I was fine as I was.
Yeah. Exactly.
And now if you think about, if you don't like yourself now, well, you're going to keep changing if you keep dieting.
Yeah.
And who's to say that the slim body is the ideal body? Again, it goes back to society, doesn't it? And the messages that we're told that you're not good enough.
Yes.
So,
More people should know about set point.
yeah. So
Because it makes sense, doesn't it? It makes a lot of sense. And because people can anecdotally understand, oh, yeah, that's happened to my body. Oh, yeah. And I thought it was me. I thought it was my fault.
yeah,
that
that's
I
the big
couldn't
one,
lose
isn't
the
it?
weight long term.
A big penny drop that
Yeah.
I did, like you mentioned in the beginning, I failed. You know, but you didn't fail because the diets fail, and that's something that they don't tell you because obviously it makes money, doesn't it, to keep people dieting.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably the best business model in the world.
And if they worked, I mean, we're just about to go for a break now, but last note on that one, if they worked, then everyone would do one diet, get slim, and then live happily ever after.
That's it, exactly.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back after this.
All types of music for all types of people.
The sound of Great West London.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Hello, welcome back to 91.8 Hayes FM, the Shee radio show. I'm Nicola Chan, and today Zoe McNulty, the headmistress of the School of Strut, is in the house.
Hola.
We were talking about health at every size. This book, if you've just joined us, welcome. This is a book that changes your life. It changed my life. It changed Zoe's life. And it is a new way of thinking, a new perspective on dieting and our bodies. And we were just talking about the lady who actually wrote this book, Linda Bacon. She's changed her name
To Lindo. Her pronouns are she, her, but she felt like she'd never really lived up to the Linda. The A on the end of a name represents feminine and prettiness, and she was always told, oh, you're so pretty, and she felt that she never really lived up to that. And so she has changed her name to Lindo.
Good for her.
Just, yeah, little fun fact for you there.
I feel like now is a good day and age for people to be their true self. Not that you ever shouldn't have, but it was a lot more difficult to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Times have changed. Yay, Philip Schofield.
Yay, Philip Schofield. I'm wearing this. It's actually LGBTQ month, History Month, so it's all about awareness and all of the
I was
stigmas
not aware of
surrounding that as well. Talking of stigmas, body positive stigma. Let's
Yes.
talk about that, how people can say
promoting
you're
obesity.
promoting obesity, you're being unhealthy, how can you eat that? What's been your experience of
Well-
being quite public on social media about body positivity,
Yes.
the way that you eat, the way you move, and people's views and opinions?
So I personally, I think because, I've been on Facebook for however long it's been open for, like 11, 12 years, and the people who are my friends, they followed my journey. Those people who didn't agree with it, don't agree with it, they've generally just removed themselves, and so I actually don't get that much backlash. I hear things that people have said about me and my work, and that's cool, whatevs. But I'm generally really lucky that I don't get attacked. I hardly ever get trolled, which is great. But I am aware that many of my BOPO peers, they have a terrible time with online trolls, online bullying, and being accused of promoting obesity. But the thing with that is that if they've decided that they're right and that you're wrong, And there's no amount of convincing them. Nothing that we will say to reframe what our message is going to convince them that that our opinions are valid. So yeah, it's a tough one. Basically, just keep speaking the truth, your truth, the truth, and those people who were ready to hear it will hear it, and those that aren't won't, and they'll kick against it as long as they can.
But I remember having a conversation with you, and you said about maybe leaving the fitness industry because you felt so much pressure about this topic, and I said to you, we must stand in the flames, because if we don't, then who will?
Yeah, you said,
because
who's going to speak the truth if you don't? I said, okay, then I'll stay.
Because it is tough being in the fitness industry and promoting a message that people think is unhealthy.
Yeah, and I've actually stopped. I did, I used to say, no, it's not about promoting being unhealthy. It's literally the opposite. It's about not going to extremes. It's about looking after yourself. And then I just carry on. I don't fight against it anymore. Like, if that's what they think, they're not listening. That's fine. Crack on.
Do you think that is easier in a way because what you do is dance?
Yes.
Compared to other
possibly,
types
yeah.
of fitness?
It's easier for me to get that message out because, like, I know you struggle with your message because you're a PT, so therefore you're working with people's bodies to gain strength, gain range of motion, etc. But and in doing so, that might change body shapes, and so people are still going to link changing body shape with losing weight and getting healthier, which isn't necessarily always the case when you're losing weight. But with dance, it's just literally, it's about the movement. It's a spiritual thing. It's spiritually nourishing. It's not just about the movement. It's artistic. It's creative. There's so much more to it than a few squats and lunges. I'm not saying that's all you do.
Well, you know how I feel about dance as well, and I actually really enjoy it, and I feel that it was quite hard for me to go from fitness to try any form of dance. I felt that my body's really stiff and rigid and I don't move that way, and I felt like I'm not so good at it, basically. And
do your listeners know about your hobby?
My hobby? What's my hobby?
My burlesque.
Yeah.
They do.
They do. But that's not even really dance. For me, that's just movement. That's creative. And when I did burlesque, I had a story to tell and I told it through movement. And people watched it and said, oh, I didn't know you did contemporary dance. And I was like, what? And then I started watching videos and I'm like, oh, I see.
There you go.
It's quite similar to contemporary, although I didn't have that.
Dance is just movement.
And then I actually went and did a contemporary dance day course, which was amazing. It's the hardest thing I ever did. We were throwing ourselves all over the floor. And just like, if you think about every single emotion that you could feel as a person, moving your body to that emotion, we literally did that. So it was an amazing way of expressing, and I actually quite like that form of dance. But I love coming to your dance classes, and I love the way that you say, like, unleash your inner diva. So like, we all have this person in us, and quite often it's suppressed, like through society. You shouldn't really be loud, you shouldn't be confident, you shouldn't big yourself up, or it's too egoic.
Or you shouldn't be sexy, you're not allowed to be sexy. Your mum, your grandma, you're not allowed to be sexy. And people they just need permission. But
also when you're told your body is wrong, you don't feel confident in your body. So actually what you do is amazing, that you're able to bring that out in people and they can express themselves and feel good, and it's not actually about all the other people.
No.
Whereas in a lot of fitness classes they might be looking at everyone else. In that, everyone's there for themselves, just to feel good and express.
And also what's lovely about School of Strut, I don't know how I've done it, but it just seems to be that every single woman who comes along, again I keep saying women, it's not only women, but that is the core of my business, and they're all so supportive. Like, within the people who've just come along on their own, so many groups have formed, so many long-lasting friendships have formed, and everyone always says, what a fantastic group of people come together for the School of Strut. I think that's what you need. You need cheerleaders, and it within the class as well. We have the strut off, where people might feel a little bit exposed, and in groups they do a strut down with the room, a few poses, and everyone else cheers. And it's a real, it's a special moment. You know, it's so simple, but just that moment of everyone being in it together, having their moment in the limelight, and everyone else cheering. It's beautiful.
It is a little bit like Gok Wan's How to Look Good Naked, which I know you've been on as well as the...
Well, I have, and I literally
teacher.
had an email this morning about the new series as well. Can't say anything just yet.
But just quickly on that, I was going to say that on that programme, if you're not familiar with it, it was basically women of all shapes and sizes finding clothes that suit their bodies. So it was more about fashion, but at the very end it was about having no clothes on. So at the end of the show they would take them off and they would do some kind of something on stage, like a catwalk,
like or a photo shoot.
I imagine that
shop window,
the liberation that you would feel in that, and because from getting uncomfortable, you always have to get uncomfortable, don't you, to break through these things. That's how you feel in your class when you do the strut off.
Yeah, out of your comfort zone is where the magic happens.
Yeah, so how did you get involved in How to Look Good Naked?
That was quite fluky, actually. My brother's ex-girlfriend worked on the show, and she said, "This is perfect for what we're doing. Can you come along and do it?" It was that.
So it wasn't even about body positivity then, was it?
No, body positivity wasn't even a thing then. I think he was touching on it, but also. It wasn't true body positivity, because they were still finding ways of changing the perception of your body. So they would have a long scarf to elongate the torso, and maybe some Spanx to pull in at the waist. You know, they were finding ways with using fashion that they would then make them look slimmer, taller, you know, curvier, whatever. And then when they did the photo shoot or the fashion show, they'd angle the body. They'd get the angles, you know, the angles, sweetie, to accentuate parts and minimise other parts. So it'd be interesting to see if that changed at all during this season, or if it's still like that.
It's interesting when you talk about fashion and the way that it changes your body shape. How do you feel about that then, in terms of like even wearing makeup and changing the way that you appear? Yeah,
I wear makeup, and that's a
I asked
tough
that because
one.
people have said it to me as well. Oh, you're body positive now, and you're sending this message out. So how do you feel about that? Why are you wearing makeup? Why are you wearing makeup every day? Mainly because when I go to class without it, people go, "You all right? Are you ill today? You look a bit tired." And I'm like, "It's my face. It's just my face."
Yeah. I think, you know, I've always worn makeup, and I do a lot of work on stage, and so, you know, accentuating your features, your eyes. I'm sure at some point later in life, when I'm, you know, busy and tired, I'm going to just go, "Oh, sod this." But you know, I like makeup.
For me, I think it's about how you feel and how you express.
Yeah.
Like if you wear certain colours today, or your nail varnish, it's because that's how you're expressing today. And then if you feel good in yourself, I think the difference with that and changing your body is we think we can change our body, and when we know that we can't, when we learn about set point and health at every size, we give up the fight because we don't need to be at war with ourselves anymore. The same, and it actually mentions this in health at every size with our height. We might not like our height, but we learn to accept it because we know we can't change it. And that's the thing with bodies, we think we can change them, and so the war continues.
Yeah. And actually, in putting makeup on, like, part of getting ready for me is that's part of me taking care of myself, as opposed to not bothering. Do you know what I mean? Like, taking care of myself and taking care of how I present myself to the world. It shows that I value me. I'm not putting on makeup because I don't like the colour of my lips. normally I'm going to put some red on. No, it's just because I've looked after myself a little bit, and I've come to see you, and you're my friend, and I want to present myself nicely to you.
So let's talk about self-care, actually, and with Valentine's Day coming up, self-care for me is part of self-love.
Yep.
And self-acceptance. So I believe that if you accept and love yourself, that's when you start doing things that are self-care.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think about
self-care? Well, yeah, right. I love a bit of self-care. I love self-acceptance. I love self-care. I always struggled with the phrase self-love because I always felt that was a little bit self-indulgent. Like, I love me, who do you love? But in sort of finding out more about looking after yourself and looking after your body, it does show that you do have to appreciate self-appreciation. Maybe that's a better word.
I guess for me, self-love came in because I definitely had self-hate.
Yes.
So I had to flip it over and think, well, how can I love myself? Like, I'm training because I hate myself. I want to change myself. How can I change? I want to still gym, but how am I gymming now? And I did have a period of that, actually, of how will I gym? What's my goal? Why am I even here?
Yeah.
And there was one day where I was doing some rows on the machine and I just burst into tears and thought, I can't do this anymore, and I just left.
Wow.
But it was part of the transition. And then I had to start thinking, now I'm training for sports specific. I like Olympic lifting, so I want to do stuff that provides strength and mobility and whatever for that sport.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, and that makes me feel good mentally, and I choose that sport in particular because for me it's just about me. I'll just go in and I work to my personal best, or a percentage of that, and it's all about me. It's not like
You're not competing.
Other exercises, without naming them, that are about other people, and you put your name on the wall and look how many they did. I want to be like them. Like, it is good, obviously, to have someone
to have a role model, but
Yeah.
then if that becomes like an unhealthy obsession, then that's the danger, which I know that you did have at one point, an unhealthy obsession with.
Yeah, so I look after my mindset, and I know that I'm the type of person to get obsessed about something. Therefore, I mean, for other people it's fine, they can do that, and they can do it in a nice balanced way and live life normally. For me, it was all or nothing, which actually is the type of character to go down the line of body image and eating disorders and everything, because it's all or nothing. I'll eat all the food or I'll have no food.
Right, yes.
How do I find the balance in the middle? Because actually we have to eat. It's not, and I remember thinking this is the hardest addiction, because it's not like drugs. I don't need them. Somebody help me get off them. It's food. You have to have it to live.
That's it.
So how am I going to find
the right
balance and be able to eat food in a healthy way and not be all or nothing? And just we've got like 3 minutes before the break, so we can talk a little bit about that. But one of the biggest things that helped me was to not see food as good and bad. Guilt and shame over certain foods, and then I'm a good person.
The
if I
amount
had
of
that.
times that I find myself saying, it's just food, it's not good, it's not naughty, it's just food.
It's marketed as naughty, isn't it? This is a sinful dessert.
But it's guilt-free sinful dessert. Like, what? Yeah. That I think the brainwashing of that has been so strong since before we were born that it's very difficult for someone to just get their head around the fact that chocolate is no more naughty than an apple. It's just food, and and every item of food has some nutritional value, and I don't mean vitamins and minerals. I mean, it's going to give you energy, and if what you need right now is energy, and if that's all you've got to hand, have the chocolate. And it's normal. The thing that you shouldn't be doing is beating yourself up about it afterwards. It's just not, because that in itself, that stress and that frustration is what's going to do more damage to your body than the chocolate.
There's so much to it, isn't there? The emotions around food, and we don't just eat when we're hungry. We eat through emotions. It's normal.
Very normal.
We eat through socialising.
Yeah.
It's your birthday, you have birthday cake. If you're
Normal.
eating from a plan like black and white, I am not hungry, I cannot eat. Therefore, it's my birthday and I'm getting birthday cake, but I can't eat it because I'm not hungry, because that breaks the rules.
That's it. Oh, it's the rules. It's the rules. Step away from rules. Anytime you find yourself adhering to rules or breaking rules, you're on a diet.
Yeah, exactly. And that's quite liberating, actually. And that feels, I remember the feeling, it's like a weight off my shoulders, like, remove the rules. diets are
God,
out, because even
remove the rules.
timings, like who says you have to eat a certain food at breakfast?
No.
If I want to eat a roast dinner for breakfast, that's okay.
That's not normal, but it's okay.
It's normal in my house.
It's normal.
All types of music for all types of people.
The sound of Great West London.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Welcome.
Hello and welcome back to 91.8 Hayes FM. This is the Way She Radio Show. I'm Nicola Chan, and in the hot seat is Zoe McNulty.
Hey.
Just trying to sort my headphones out. So we were talking about...
She's so unprofessional.
We're talking about food there just before the break, about people feeling guilty if they eat a food that they consider to be bad, feeling like, oh, I've done so good today. You know, I ate salad all day or whatever, food that we consider to be good.
Yeah. I've
Stop
done
it
so
like that.
good, so I'm going to go and eat at McDonald's. Yeah. Bless you, do you need a hand?
I'll just have one ear.
Oh, dear. Like a DJ, like an actual DJ.
Yeah, mix it. Oh, we're back. You can see me struggling with my headphones. There we go. It went the other way
It was a
round.
flip, not a twist.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on, as you were.
Can you talk about your journey? Obviously, we spoke about how you went from in the fitness industry at the beginning and feeling a certain way about your body into embracing yourself and being body positive. How did all of that journey work with food? Like, how did you used to eat, and how did you change to having more like relaxed eating now?
I sort of traced back my more relaxed eating back to actually almost 10 years ago exactly. And that was, unfortunately, I wish it was different. I wish it was less patriarchal, but a boy that I was with thought that I was just the most amazing thing in the world ever. And I'm sure there are many boys out there who think I'm the most amazing thing in the world ever. But this particular one, I thought he was amazing too. And the way that he looked at me, I understood that I understood him, that he thought that I was stunning and beautiful and amazing. And I understood it, not just up here, but like in here. It wasn't like, oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not that. No, I'm not pretty. I'm beautiful. Got it. And I got it. And at that point, I realised that I'd wasted my 20s. I'd wasted my 20s. At the age of 33, I'd wasted my entire adulthood being concerned about what others thought about my body, and that I didn't need to be concerned anymore. And that is when I started to become less diet orientated. But I was still in the fitness industry, so it was still it would still jump back in. I still had that messaging that, well, you should probably be slimmer.
Did people judge you for how you ate?
Did they judge me for how I ate?
Or did you ever feel like they were?
I don't know.
Because I have definitely experienced that myself. And then you get people of like bigger sizes who say people judge them for what they're eating.
Yeah, that's it.
Which you wouldn't judge a smaller person eating the same food. But I felt judged being a fitness professional. Like, I'd see people in my classes,
Right.
and I'm eating a certain food, and they're like, "Oh, you're eating that? Why are you eating that? You're meant to be a fitness professional."
Yeah, no,
Like,
you're
I'm
right.
not allowed to
That's
eat.
a very familiar. That's a very familiar memory.
Does it ring
Yeah,
bells?
that does. That happened.
Yeah.
That does, and it still happens.
Or even if you're not small, aren't you trying to be, because you should be?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. The judgment.
it's assumed.
Yeah.
You're trying to change yourself.
So yeah, you're right. People often do comment on what you're eating because you're a fitness instructor, and at least now I know that that's food shaming, and don't food shame me. All right, food police. Yeah. So where were we? What were we talking about?
How you feel about food and how you got to be more relaxed.
So right. So earlier today, I said, "Oh, I haven't eaten yet." On the way here, is there somewhere we can get something, like, I haven't eaten, because I forget. So when I was dieting, there would be a moment where I'd be not thinking about food and not thinking about when I could eat next and what it's going to be and how much of it can I have, because I know I'm going to want more than I'm supposed to have, because I'm supposed to be counting calories. And now, because I'm not dieting and I can have whatever I want whenever I want it, I actually forget. And I remember people saying to me when I was dieting, "Oh, I forgot to eat today," and I think, how did you forget
Hold on to your chair.
to eat today? Like, it just makes no sense to me. And now I'm in that position because I'm not. It's not such a big thing. And in actual fact, forgetting to eat. I don't forget to eat breakfast. I'm not hungry in the morning, and therefore I don't eat it until I do get hungry. But then if that timing is bad for me, I should have eaten earlier.
It's difficult, isn't it? Especially when you do fitness as well, because if you're doing a spin class, for example, you don't want to have just eaten, because you need to have digested it to a certain amount. So I still find that now that I still have to think about food in that way, because I don't want to not eat and then I'd be starving.
Of course, and you don't want to be starving.
But yeah, I definitely, like you said, can forget to eat. And it feels really refreshing, actually, to notice, oh, I'm one of those people now. Like when there's a lovely guy at the gym, and every week he gives me a chocolate and I just put it in my bag because I don't want it right then and then. I'm teaching a class. And then I forgot it was there, but before, the food would speak to me.
It would literally
it could be
call
chocolate.
to you. I know, the same.
And it'd be like, I'm here in your bag.
Yeah.
When are you going to eat me?
Yep.
When are you going to eat me?
Yeah. And recently at Christmas, I went to the cinema and I got one of those big bags of Butterkist. Love Butterkist. I only had a few mouthfuls, and I was like, oh, no. And still had the packet several days later, and threw the packet out because it got stale. What?
Say what?
Say what? And I'm not advocating eating less is better. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm saying is, it just it's no longer, it doesn't consume the food. Thinking about the food doesn't consume me anymore. So
that's actually a really good point, where you said about eating less is not necessarily better, because actually when you are on dieting, when you are in that fight with your body, and when you're allowed food because it's part of your plan, you want it all, and that's
exactly.
where
Cheat
the mentality
days, cheat
comes
meals,
in.
And that's not normal. People don't realise that these food rules are disordered. That whole and of course you're going to go
it's
in
just
on
got
your
new
cheat
labels
meal
now. So where it's called cheat, to me that would be a binge.
yeah, exactly. People eat into the point of just uncomfortable. Why?
But it is also okay to eat to uncomfortable. So for example, Christmas dinner.
Totally.
You might
normal.
eat because it's a bit more sociable, and there might be a bit more emotions there as well, like a bit of comfort food, and you're eating with other people. You
might just be so damn tasty that you're just still enjoying it.
Which is why, again, taking those rules away. And actually, if you are an intuitive eater, your body will be like, okay, I've had a bit more food than I needed right now, so therefore I'm going to have energy for longer.
Yes.
And actually, maybe in the next few days, you don't notice that you're a little bit less hungry. So it regulates itself by itself.
Yeah. Our bodies are very clever, but we've actually spent so long overruling, is that overriding,
dissociating.
Are you really hungry, or do you need a glass of water? Like, no, I'm hungry.
Eat an apple first and see if you still want the chocolate. Yeah, still want the chocolate.
See ya. And also, I'm very much aware now of when food stops tasting quite as good as it did when it first went in. When I'm hungry and you start eating the food, you're like, oh yes, it tastes amazing. There's a point where it just goes, next mouthful, actually, that didn't taste as nice as the first. Why is that? I'm probably full. Maybe have another. Yeah,
that's
I'm
why
done.
everything tastes great when you're dieting, doesn't it? I remember all of the nasty things that I used to eat. I'm not going to mention any brands, which basically had zero everything in them, and I thought that they were amazing. If I tried it now, or
anything made out of cauliflower to make you think that you're eating rice. What?
Oh, I like cauliflower rice, but I haven't eaten it since dieting days.
Get out.
I mean, there are some things that I just can't eat now, like vacuum-packed broccoli.
That's a thing. Wow.
Even just saying it, you can smell it, right? So it is interesting how, because I forget even how how much food consumed my mind and how difficult it was on a day-to-day basis just to work out what to eat, and how I felt even just shopping in a supermarket. And I did notice along the journey how I had some anxiety over food. For me, it was like because I was trying to not eat so much that when I would eat food, I would then binge on it. And I thought that was my problem, not realising what was really going on.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I won't have any bad foods in the house. I'll just fill up with good foods.
Yeah.
But then I would end up binging on those.
Yeah. Oh.
Or if you want something, say for example, it was a chocolate, but you think it's so bad. Well, the whole apple scenario, you eat the apple first, see if you still want the chocolate. Well, you still did. So you had an apple, then you had something else, and you went through 10 foods that you thought were healthy, and then you still want the chocolate. Whereas if you just had the chocolate, you may have stopped there.
You would have stopped.
How do you deal with that now on a day-to-day basis, and how do you advise people who must come to you in your classes?
Well, I mean, I try not to advise people when they're coming to my class, because they're coming for a dance class, and I'm not a registered nutritionist, and I don't want to kind of shift the focus too much, but they will talk to me. They will complain about how bad they've been and how they've got to lose weight for this and for that, and all I can do is just tell them that you're great just the way you are, and I try and steer them towards people on social media who talk a lot about that, who talk a lot about body image, to try and get them to see that there's another way to be, try and get them to stop following the accounts that are making them feel inadequate. I try not to give too much advice about food, more about how to be more body positive, or have better body image.
Do you think it starts with the body and then the food comes along with it?
That's a good question. That is a good question. Yeah, I think part of what my dance class does is makes them feel good straight away, immediately, and then they know, oh, actually that had nothing to do with what I put in my body, it's just how I'm moving. I don't know.
So again, thinking about how you feel then, because you just reminded me about standing on the scales, and that, which is another journey of stopping that habit of standing on the scales and how you feel. It's gone up, you feel bad, it's gone down. I'm a great person now. I've been good, my weight's gone down. To then realising that, again, that a lot of that's in your mind. And one of the things I noticed when I stopped weighing, because I only ever get weighed at the doctors now, and it's just because it's their thing that they want to do. I don't agree with it.
I've never been weighed at the doctors. I don't think I've ever been weighed at the doctors. They do occasionally comment should.
But then I know because of that weigh-in, I know that a lot of it might be in my head. So you might think that you've put on weight. Again, like I was saying about monthly fluctuations, your hormones, and you have a bad body image day. Yeah. You immediately feel like I've put on a stone.
And then that sends you into a spiral of despair. Yeah, that's a familiar feeling, a familiar memory of a feeling. Obviously, I haven't weighed myself a long time, but I know what you mean. Yeah, throughout my teenage years, I had charts on the wall, plotting my... Yeah.
Am I a good person yet?
But the thing is that when you do lose weight, people are going to say, oh, you look great. And then, all the social prize that you get from being in a smaller body, all the thin privilege that starts to come your way, and you start to get a sniff of how you're being treated differently. And I've been this way, I've been this way, I've been small, I've been bigger, all fluctuating, not wildly, massively fluctuating, but even a tiny little bit of fluctuation, and I'll either be completely ignored or I'll have all the attention. It's crazy.
So it's hard not to like that, isn't it? Especially if you are insecure and not liking yourself, which is generally where these things come from.
Or even if you are secure already, if someone's going to pay you a nice compliment, do that again, I like that. Yeah, it's difficult. I often on my social media say, please stop complimenting weight loss.
Yeah, I found that really triggering actually, after coming from an eating disorder background to then body positive. I accept myself now, and I'm accepting myself in this bigger body, and I had to literally let go of the reins and be like, whatever happens to my body is going to happen, because I need to let go of this eating disorder and I need to be healthy. So just let it happen. And then I got to a point in weight where it actually started coming off again, just naturally coming off, because my body was like, oh, I can trust you now, you know. And I'm not saying this is a reason for anybody to do that.
No.
But I started having that again, where people were saying, oh, what have you done? Have you been on a diet? You've lost weight. And I started liking it, and I could see the old thoughts in my head. And then I was like, this is actually really triggering for me.
Yeah.
I can't listen to this anymore, because if I'm going to start thinking about my food again, even if I'm putting it in this bracket of I'm being good because I'm getting this admiration from people, so whatever I'm doing is working, which it isn't. It's exactly the same thing I did when I stopped dieting and I gained a load of weight. It just so happened that it started coming off again. And now it's somewhere in the middle, and whatever is going on a day-to-day basis, I don't know, because I don't check.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to really arm myself with not allowing those comments in. And I try as well, because, I mean, I don't do this with people now, but previously the natural reaction is to see someone and say how they look. So I try to see them and just acknowledge them for a person. Who are they? Not just how you look today, like, oh, I haven't seen you in ages, you've lost weight. It's just like the natural thing that people do, isn't it?
Well, it's only natural because it's a habit. It's just a habit, you know. And it's easy, and you can break a habit. So yeah, I don't say, oh, you look like you've lost weight. That would never come out of my mouth now. I might say you look great because I'm aware that you spent time doing your hair today. You've spent time in your lips. I did. You got your hoops on as well. I don't know where mine are. I don't even know who I am anymore. But yeah, so I try and avoid appearance-based compliments unless it's, you know, they've obviously gone to a lot of effort that day, you know, and as long as they don't take it on board as me saying, I think you look nice because I think you look thinner.
Yeah. And I'm very aware how I speak to children, like especially my 8-year-old, because I don't want her growing up with all of those messages.
No.
It's very difficult actually being a parent and
imagine.
thinking all the messages you took as a child, not even to do with weight, like when you learn NLP and personal development and you realise a lot of things happened when you were young, like the messages that you took from society and your upbringing, it just makes you very scared as a parent. What am I saying to my children now? How's that going to affect them as an adult?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to be mindful of everything.
Exactly.
So it's time for a break.
Oh.
So we're going to stop there. Let's check out the Facebook if anyone's made any comments. If you are listening now and you're at home and you're able to do so, please go on the Hayes FM Facebook page. Check us out. Get your questions in. We're talking body positivity with Zoe, the headmistress of the School of Strut. We'll be right back.
All types of music for all types of people.
The sound of Great West London.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Hello, welcome back to 91.8 Hayes FM, the Shee radio show with myself, Nicola Chan, and my special guest, Zoe McNulty. We were talking about food and how we've overcome diet culture and a more relaxed way around food now. And one of the books actually that helped me with that is Intuitive Eating. What are your thoughts on intuitive eating?
Oh, I think it's the only way to kind of I'm just trying to think of another word for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You mess up your head yourself. I think. Yeah, I think it's literally the antidote to diet culture. I think as well, though, it has to be acknowledged that in order to do intuitive eating as it's intended, you know, that in itself is quite a privilege. I think getting to grips with normal is probably a better way of doing things. Like just trying to figure out what is normal and what's disordered. Because intuitive, like sometimes, you know, life is crazy and hectic and busy, and you know there's food shortages in places, you know, and sometimes you can't eat intuitively. You might just be bloody hungry and not be able to do anything about it. So, you know, we understand that that's normal and unfortunate. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of intuitive eating, but it does have its issues.
Mm-hmm. And also one of them being that people see it as a diet.
Yeah, exactly.
A hunger fullness diet.
Yeah, like if I stop eating when I'm full, then I'm going to not put any weight on, or I'm going to lose weight. So yeah,
and as we already mentioned, you might eat when you're full. You might continue eating. It might be a social event. It might be your birthday and you've had dinner and now you're about to have some birthday cake to celebrate. And we eat for a whole manner of reasons, not just our hunger and fullness.
Yeah.
And as I was saying as well, actually, earlier, that because of teaching fitness, I might be teaching a class at a certain time, which means that I'm either going to miss food for a longer number of hours than I'd really like. So therefore, I'm going to eat when I'm not hungry, so I've got some energy that's going to last me for longer.
Yeah.
So I couldn't eat just for hunger and fullness, and
no,
I need to be okay with that and not have guilt because I ate when I wasn't hungry.
Yeah, but I think the originators of the concept, they acknowledge that as well, that there are going to be times that you won't be able to have access to food, and that will probably sort of right itself at some point.
And you mentioned before the break about thin privilege. We were talking about sizes and body positive activists, which I'll ask you about in a moment as well. What is thin privilege for those who are listening?
Thin privilege is it's benefits that people in slimmer bodies have access to. It down to like the structure, the fabric of society. It involves being able to sit in a chair with arms. It involves being able to fit comfortably into a changing room. It involves being able to only have to buy one plane ticket for a journey. Basically, society is set up for smaller people, thinner people, and therefore people in larger bodies face discrimination on every level, not only just people being horrible to them in the street, but they don't get access to comfortable living conditions because their bodies just don't fit.
And also clothing as well.
Yeah, clothing.
I was watching actually the movie I Feel Pretty. Have you seen it? I forget the actress's name in it.
The Australian lady.
She's shopping for clothes, and they say to her, we don't have anything in your size. You have to go online.
That's very real.
They mentioned that on the Embrace documentary as well, that certain companies want thin people wearing their clothes, and so they weren't supporting certain magazines.
Yeah, and it's something to do with it being easier and cheaper to produce smaller clothes.
So where do you place yourself? How do you feel about your body? Do you feel that you're living in a fat body or thin? Do you have thin privilege?
I have a certain amount of thin privilege, yeah. I think I'm called, and it's all relative, but I think people would call me small fat or medium fat. And I'm happy with that. That's fine. Cool.
So that's what society calls you?
Yeah.
How do you identify?
Maybe not society. Maybe society would call me... Actually, they'd call me obese. Because my BMI says that I'm obese. So how would I call myself? I'm happy saying I'm medium fat, because then that acknowledges that I don't understand the level of discrimination that people in large fat or extreme fat bodies, I do have a level of privilege because I can still find clothes that fit me. I'm a size 16 to 18, and times are changing and there are more choices in the shops, but it is still, I can't get everything that I see in the magazines. Not that I read the magazines, but
And how do you feel about smaller bodies, like mine, for example, promoting the body positive message?
Yeah, so this has always been a bit of a touchy situation with the BOPO world. But I've always been totally okay with slim people preaching body positivity, but and I'll come on to the word body positivity in a second. I think let's really call it positive body image, because we all have our own insecurities. We've all grown up within diet culture, and even if you haven't experienced the oppression that larger bodies receive on a day-to-day basis, you still have your own demons, and even in the last year, 37% increase in reported eating disorders. Like, that's got to stop. So yeah, I'm all for people of all shapes and sizes, because everyone with a voice represents not only themselves but other people like them. So yeah, crack on. But I also understand the flip side, which is that the body positive movement came out of the fat acceptance movement, which was started by large people of colour. And they then see young, slim, blonde, white girls preaching body positivity, and I can understand how that would be irksome, let's say. But I'm like, crack on. If you're giving the right message, and you're not co-opting the terminology from the body positive discourse, as long as you're not twisting it for your own financial gain when it comes to then pretending to be body positive when you're really telling people what to eat and how to lose weight, then all good.
And so was born the body positive diet.
There we go.
And on that note, it's time for the local news. We'll be right back.
All types of music for all types of people.
The sound of Great West London.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
91.8 Hayes FM.
Hello, welcome back to 91.8 Hayes FM, the Shee radio show with myself, Nicola Chan, and my special guest, Zoe McNulty. We were talking about thin privilege just then before the break. Let's talk a little bit about the different classifications for a body and what is socially acceptable, what isn't, and how you identify. Because I know we're both in a body positive community, both in the fitness industry, so standing in the flames, as it were. And you quite often talk about the term curvy, and sometimes we have a bit of a debate on that, because I say, well, I'm not curvy and I am body positive, and there's no one representing my body.
What's your body?
I guess muscly straight sized.
Muscly straight sized. I like that.
Yeah.
I often use the word curvy because not everyone is ready for fat. Not everyone is ready for fat acceptance, but they're more than happy to be called curvy, because I guess it represents sexiness, and what woman doesn't want to be sexy, especially if she's spent her life thinking that she's overweight and unattractive. Then curvy is a good kind of, is the word a segue into fat acceptance? I think.
But then, as I was saying, because I don't identify as curvy, so for me to accept my body then, and again this comes from like misogynistic views of the ideal sexualized female body, that these shapes are what is accepted now. 10 years ago maybe something different, maybe 10 years in the future something different, and so if you're not accepted by, in some shape or form, by male, then you're not acceptable,
full stop.
Then it's not sexy. That's what I was saying. It's
not sexy. Yeah, so sometimes, so with my dance classes, you know, I help women, or not essentially, to feel sexy, and not necessarily because it's not for the men. I'm not getting them to be sexy for the men. I'm getting them to be feel sexy so that when they walk out of the room, they can finally stand tall with their head held up high and not be beating themselves up for not conforming to the body shape that everyone says is acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, then what they go and do with that newfound sass, you know, I'm not at all responsible for. But there have been
Babies born.
Pregnancies. There have been pregnancies as a direct result.
Disclaimer.
Yeah. Where are we going with that?
You've thrown me off.
Oh, funny.
I was actually listening to the radio, another radio station on the way here, and that song Skilo. Do you remember the song by Skilo? I wish I was a little bit taller.
All right.
I wish I was a baller.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I thought maybe we could talk about that as well.
Because guys feel pressure to be a certain way as well.
Not only the guy thing, but like in that actual song, he mentions not being picked for basketball because he was short. And then there's also the ideals of fitness, isn't there? That you should look a certain way for a certain sport.
Yes. Yeah. I think I've been overlooked several times in my career. In fact, I've actually just lost several classes from a particular gym chain whose name shall not be mentioned, and I have not had this confirmed, but I'm pretty certain it's because I'm a little bit older and I'm a little bit bigger than their demographic that they want to.
So do you think that you're experiencing ageism now?
Ageism, yep, definitely, yeah. Yeah, and another gym chain, I know that they stop employing people at the age of 35. So, and
that's I'm out.
Yeah, being 42. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, I know. So, yeah, ageism and sizeism. It does happen. Things are changing, and
I
people...
feel like, again, it's a woman thing, though. Like, for example, the news... You only ever see young, attractive females, whereas if you're a male, it doesn't matter what age you are, what size you are.
It's the patriarchy. Damn it. Yeah. I want to say things are changing, but I do actually think that some of the changes are coming from clever marketing people who are realising that people are no longer listening to the same old misogynistic rubbish and want something different, and want to be represented. And so those entities, the media entities, are starting to show bodies that are all different races, ages, genders, sizes.
Let's talk about that after the break. And I know that Zoe does a lot of work with this, and she's got a lot of things coming up that she can share with us as well, and how you can get involved. So join us right back after this. 91.8 Hayes FM.
91.8
Shape up and feel great with Nicola Fustel.
Hello and welcome back to 91.8 Hayes FM, the Way She radio show. This is the last 20 minutes, dun, 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 before we end the week, and then I'm back next week with another guest. So to finish off with Zoe for the last 20 minutes, we were just noticing actually, as the advert came in, my old jingle came on. I wasn't quick enough on the button, and it said, shape up and feel great.
Shape up, feel great with Nicola Fustel.
Oh, you should do that.
Thanks.
Yeah, so that is my old brand, Fustel and I've changed because as I've evolved, as we've been talking about throughout the show, so has my brand, because obviously I am a fitness professional, and also now a mindset coach, because I realised how much mind, mental health, spirituality, all of that goes together with your health and wellness. It's not just about fitness and go hard or go home. It's about everything and how you are emotionally, socially, spiritually. That all goes into making you as a whole person, your health. So apologies about that.
If anyone ever said to me, go hard or go home, don't have to tell me twice. I'm out here, I'm home.
And then What were we going to say about that?
We were going to talk about... I've forgotten now.
5 a day.
Professional. 5 a day. Listen, 5 a day. They made that up. It's just a nice, easy, round number. It doesn't mean anything.
What about what's also made up? The BMI scale.
BMI scale, exactly. Terrible. Did you know as well? Many people don't know this. Hello, readers. Many people don't know that I think it was 1997, was it? That one day, millions and millions of people woke up obese because they just moved the number. They moved the goalposts, the line between overweight and obese and morbidly obese. They moved that line, and just their excuse was 25 is an easier number to remember than 27. So by reducing the number, it provided the medical establishment with millions of people who were at risk of being obese and all the diseases that are associated with being overweight and obese. So it was just literally a money-making scheme
for pharmaceuticals.
Yeah,
medication.
I mean if that in itself isn't enough to make people stop dieting and sorry, I'm not too far away from the microphone. If that's not in itself a reason for people to just question everything, then I don't know what will wake people up.
So talking about waking people up, if you've been listening and you've been somewhat awakening, maybe with one eye, listening and being inspired by Zoe or even myself, my own story, and you'd like to know what you can do, how can you become body positive, what is available out there, and what is Zoe up to next that you can get involved in, let us know, Zoe.
Well, okay, so first thing to do is start following other people who are body positive, who are in the fat acceptance movement. I think it's important to look at as many fat bodies as possible, even if you aren't fat and this doesn't necessarily speak to you. I think being able to look at bodies that you aren't used to looking at in the media, with all their glorious folds and cellulite and stretch marks, and normalising that sort of texture and shape, I think it's important for people to just get used to looking at bodies that are not like what they've been brainwashed with.
I have to extremely agree with that, because obviously when you're starving, your brain's not working properly anyway. And I had a disordered brain when I was suffering with an eating disorder. But when I did bodybuilding, because I looked at only bodybuilders so often, I started seeing fat on people that wasn't there. Because all you can see is that just muscle and thin paper skin. Paper thin skin. That's what becomes normal to you. And
personally as well, since I started unfollowing the Fitspo, #Fitspo, Fitspiration, and started following real plus size fat bodies, I prefer looking at bodies with more fat on. I now get uncomfortable looking at ladies with six packs. Immediately, and you can't assume someone's health status by looking at them, but I immediately think that's a red flag. Is that lady having periods? Not that it's any of my business, but is that really a picture of health? I don't know. And I would much rather be looking at someone with a little bit of cuddle, because it's normal. It's normal, and that's healthy.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the periods, actually, because we did speak about obesity or being overweight, and how society, or the stigma around that, is that the bigger you are, the less healthy you are. And we've already discussed the healthful behaviours that make a person healthier. Obviously, taking into account there are, not everyone can be healthy. Everyone has their own lifestyle, injuries, illness, whatever you're going through.
It's not an obligation.
Yeah. So if you are on the other end of the spectrum as well, and there are a lot of health issues associated with being at a low weight, and I suffered that myself. I didn't menstruate while I was doing all those shows, or even just dieting. The amount of stress that I had on my body, I was constantly in a state of fight or flight, which obviously wasn't healthy. But then you can still look like that and be healthy. It depends on your genetics if that's the way that you were born.
Exactly. It's true. So back to your original question, which was what's the next step for someone? Reading that book, Health at Every Size. Also The Body of Truth by Harriet Brown.
Intuitive Eating.
There's another book
Evelyn
by
Tripole.
Linda Bacon. What was her other book? Body Respect.
Yeah.
Body
It's like
Respect.
the new version of Health at Every Size, isn't it?
Yeah, these are all great books that give you like a broad understanding of or at least an introduction on stepping out of diet culture. Of
Life-changing one for me, Brain Over Binge.
Right, okay.
And really understand your brain and how it makes you. It's not you who failed. It's a natural physiological thing that happens when you starve.
Yeah, biology. Yeah. Yeah, and also getting to grips with, or not necessarily getting to grips with, but having your eyes open to the propaganda and to the way that medical studies actually are probably lying to you, and that how they've twisted the numbers and made the data fit the desire, which is to sell whatever it is that they're trying to sell.
It's always good to look at who it's commissioned by, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. This is question everything. Question everything. Yeah. That's a good starting point. Bit of research and a little bit of social media, decluttering and restructuring of your newsfeed.
And you mentioned before about the media now embracing different bodies and shapes and sizes and races and cultures.
Yep.
And I know that you have some events coming up to do with that, and you've done some walks before where people get in their knickers and walk around embracing their bodies.
So in the summer just gone, and also the one before that, did you come with me?
No.
You didn't do that one.
I want to.
attended #The Real Catwalk, which is set up by Christiana, who was on America's Next Top Model, who is very much a spokesperson for diversity within the fashion industry. And so it's a guerrilla style catwalk where we just launch ourselves upon Trafalgar Square, and we strip, and we don't strip there, and we strut in our underwear, and we do a catwalk, and we're basically modelling our own bodies as opposed to clothes.
Amazing.
I know, and it's incredibly empowering. You know, some people find
Not
modesty
cold.
empowering. I personally find getting my kit off highly empowering. And by the end of the day, I did not want to put my clothes back on, let me tell you. And then I took inspiration from that, and at fit camps in Ribby Hall. So my amazing housemate Lydia Campbell, she runs an event that's been going for 30 years, fitness event, and she loves the body positive movement, and she suggested let's do the strut, the catwalk at the event. And so I put the word out to the people who were going, and I thought maybe I'll get like 20 people. About 70 women all turned up, and a couple of guys as well. When I opened the door to the holding room, and they were all stood there looking fabulous in their lingerie and high heels, it was incredible. I know that definitely that night was life-changing for a fair few of the people there. One lady, she wore like ribbons around her wrists that were representative of the broken chains since she's left her husband, who physically abused her for I think she said for about 15 years, and she was eventually out of that, and then she was standing in the pub after we'd done the event. She was in the pub. She just had a little throw over this little negligee thing in her high heel. She says, "I'm stood here now, free of him. I'm free of my clothes. She's just went freedom." That just I've got goosebumps thinking about that. Fill it up.
That's
it
amazing.
Changes people's lives.
To feel so empowered by that.
Yeah,
experience.
It's the representation of being free of someone controlling or a controlling entity, and then just to be able to say, I'm going to do what I want. It goes a lot deeper than a bit of a dance class, or
then all of this does all the body positivity.
Eating. Yeah,
it goes deeper to, like we said, like self-acceptance.
Yeah,
if you accept yourself, who you are, like how you look is just, it's your vehicle, isn't it?
Exactly.
So tell us where we can get involved and how can we contact you.
So you can get me on all socials, School of Strut, STRUT. You'll be able to find me and message me, slide into my DMs. I do monthly classes at Pineapple. So we do Strutology on the last Friday of every month. So the next one will be, but not in March because I'm away. April I don't know what that is, maybe the 27th. Around that time, it's the Friday, 8 till 9. And I will be putting that out on social media very soon. And then I also do, once a year, I do the Strut Summit. I'm currently looking for a different venue. And that is a whole afternoon of dance classes that are all designed to help you feel good about yourselves, all with slightly different personalities, I guess. We've got Strutology, which is the one with heels, not compulsory, only advised. We've got Raunch, we roll around on the floor being super sexy.
I just thought actually you are the reason I got into burlesque, because it was Strut that I came to, and you had the different teachers doing different variables of dance, and one of them was burlesque, and that's the one I was like, I love this.
Oh, Kimmy Von Shimmy. Yeah,
I don't remember who it was.
She did burlesque.
There you go. Changed my life.
Hurrah! The knock-on effect. And then we've got body language as well, which is a little bit like old school aerobics, but with super sass, low impact. And so it's a whole afternoon of that. Details to be confirmed. I'm also working with Sport Relief at the moment. Again, details to be confirmed. I am planning a strut-a-thon. How that will look, I'm not entirely sure just yet. But I'm one of the Sport Relief social media talent. And my job is to encourage the nation to fundraise in whatever way. Because they're doing amazing work. So I went to see some. It's gonna go in 4 minutes.
Yeah. I
went to see some of the work that is being funded by Sport Relief, and they're providing. So Fair Share UK are providing 1 million meals a day to the hungry and to the homeless, and that is provided by the overproduction of food in supermarkets. And so actually they could provide 650 million meals a day if they could raise enough money to increase their upscale their processes. So that's one small amazing thing that Sport Relief are doing. So get your fundraising packs from sportrelief.co.uk. .com.co.uk. Not sure. Google it.
If you just Google Sports Relief. So is it best to check out your Instagram?
Yes.
Or Facebook?
Instagram's good. I'm very active on Instagram. Facebook as well. Either Zoe McNulty or School of Strut. I'm active on both of those. A YouTube channel, School of Strut. And schoolofstrut.com.
Final piece of advice for anyone listening who wants to embrace their body?
Just make the decision that you're going to start or stop hating your body.
At least stop hating
At
yourself.
least stop hating yourself.
Maybe when you look at yourself in the mirror and you say something negative, to try to see something positive, and even if it's not the way you look, like a positive attribute to yourself.
I think
real self.
Without wanting to be dismissive, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what people think of your body. Like, it's just, like Taryn Brumfitt says, it's a vehicle to your dreams. So go out and just start doing things that are more important than your body. I mean, yes, your body, you have to look after it, but don't waste like your 20s like I did.
I mean,
trying
that's
to change
what
its
Kyla,
shape.
her name is, that we spoke about earlier, Kyla Prince.
Yes.
And she used to say, from recovery to discovery. And I remember
nice.
thinking, I can't wait to get through this recovery to find discovery.
Yes.
And that's really discovering life, living life in your body rather than looking at your body.
And look at what we've done in the last couple of years, you know, with our businesses and with our message. We've changed so many lives. Hurrah. Like, that's
We're on
important.
our last 60 seconds, Zoe, so it's going to cut off any moment. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming into the studio.
Thanks.
We've had you here before, but it's been great to have you back and hear all of your updates and obviously still supporting the same message. So it's been amazing.
Thanking you.
Thank you. Thanks to Hayes FM. Follow us, Hayes FM, Weishi Radio. It's a long minute. It's a long minute. It's going on now. And School of Strut.
School of
The
Strut.
headmistress of the
Yes.
School of Strut.
I just thought that
91.8 Hayes FM.
Great